Okay, we'll move on to our second panel, which is about scaling internationally. But before we do that, let's have a look at our next poll that we want to ask you. So keep the questions coming in through Slido, by the way, because they are a great way to drive the conversation. Let's have a look at that poll if we can. There's the question here. What do you think are the greatest challenges to scaling a business? Not paying sufficient attention to cash flow and financial management, focusing on sales and marketing instead of building long-term demand, choosing the wrong people to work with and not changing management structures. Don't forget, we're going to hear from Bobby Healy in a little while as well about his journey with car trawler and mana and drones and all sorts of madness. But first of all, will you welcome our Scaling Internationally panel from Channelsight, John Beckett, from Tandem HR, Aisling Teillard, and from ACT VC, Debbie Rennick, ladies and gentlemen. Up you come, folks. It's a very big stage when you're waiting to greet people. Aisling, lovely to see you. We're going to put you up in the green chair.
Okay.
Debbie, good to see you again. And John, good to see you. Right, so apparently it is a popularity contest for hair, so we'll see who wins this panel. First of all, we're going to ask you to introduce yourselves, first of all. John, I'll begin with you down the end. Introduce yourself in the bones of 30 seconds about what you do.
Sure, yeah. So Channelsight is a market intelligence platform. We work with very large brands to help them understand the performance of their marketing and whether or not it's working to drive sales via partner retailers. So we work with clients like Bosch, Siemens, Sony to help them understand if I spend €1 here on marketing, is it going to give me a return on investment versus spending it over here?
I'd say marketing people love your company for telling everybody what their ideas actually were worth. Aisling, tell us a little bit about Tandem HR and how you guys work.
So Tandem is an alternative to traditional performance management. So for anyone who's ever...
Oh, we've lost your microphone there. We'll try that again. Hang on, can we hear you? Count to 10 there. No, but that's gone down south there. I'll tell you while we fix that. Debbie, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Debbie Rennick, I'm with ACT Venture Capital. We provide seed, early and expansion capital to high growth, disruptive companies focused on big markets. So what that means is we provide check sizes of anything from 100 grand up to several million, depending on your stage. We're very busy, very active. There's 4 of us, or 5 of us, I think, here today, happy to meet HPSUs and find the best next best companies.
Okay, so we heard the accelerator journey there. Do you want to say hello to me? Can we hear you?
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you again, thank God. Tell us a little bit, Aisling, about what you guys do.
Yeah, so we're an alternative to traditional performance management. So for anyone who's ever sat through the misery of a performance review in a corporate, we provide an alternative to that. So it's a real-time feedback tool, and then we provide personalised coaching dashboards to support people to see the potential that maybe they didn't even know they had.
Okay, I'm bought into you already before you even get going. Let's go straight to the funding question because it's a key part of the scaling journey. John, I'll begin with you. Was there a particular trigger for you raising the Series A, the C+ round? I mean, what was it that you saw that went, now is the time to go?
So, you can always recast what happened, with a lovely story. But fundamentally, where we started was we bootstrapped from the beginning, and then we recognized that we needed to achieve certain milestones in order to become viable for funding, and that would help us scale. Like Connor and the others talked about earlier on, we didn't want to raise money too early, so we wanted to validate that we had a market. So we did that by getting customers. So we won 3 big customers, first of all. We don't have any customers in Ireland, so we focused on winning these international clients. And once we had that validated, we showed that our product was working and that there was adoption and expansion by those clients. Then we said, okay, now let's raise some money to scale that up.
So you'd established yourself in the market, effectively. You realised customers like what we do. You had 3 big ones, and that was the time at which you decided to go forward. What was your journey, Aisling? What made you realise that now is the time?
Yeah, probably similar enough. We were going after large-scale enterprise as well, and most of them weren't in Ireland, so there was a lot of travel cost, and we were unusual in that we outsourced our tech, which is never a popular move, but so that cost a bit of money. So look, it was very obvious. I don't think there was a trigger. I think it was a clear state of affairs that we were running out of money really quickly. And despite what you can do in terms of, having no salary or these kind of things, it just costs money to get in front of the kind of customers that we wanted to sell to. So we got a bit of traction, a couple of pilots in enterprise clients, and then we And Gary actually pushed me in front of VCs, and that was
Okay,
that
and
was
so like that, you'd proved yourself in the marketplace.
yeah, we had a few customers at that stage, and they were willing to talk about us, which was they were willing to be reference clients. And as we went through the VC process, they were part of our due diligence, so they were important to the story.
Debbie, these two companies work with you guys in ACT. So was that the right time to hit that market, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately when VCs are looking at companies and just making a decision to now start deploying lots more money, growth is the biggest issue. You want to believe that there's high growth and sustainable, repeatable growth. And the best way that you can validate that is through the customer engagement that they have, the customer validation, the customer adoption. But we want to believe that these companies are companies. If we're going to be deploying millions into a company, we want to believe that they can become big companies. So we've got to have enough data and enough metrics to see that. And that comes down to, again, touching on what Conor said earlier, which I completely agree with. What we're trying to avoid is premature scaling. We're trying to avoid a situation where actually the company, they've a couple of wins, but actually it's not repeatable or scalable. Maybe they got lucky. So what you've got to show is more and more customers, which is what these guys are able to show, more and more customers, the ability to grow within your customers, the ability to show an evidence of what's the sales cycle, what's the cost of growing. The more data that you can provide, the better chance you have of succeeding.
It's almost at accelerator level. It's almost belief that you can do it.
Yeah.
You guys need KPIs, don't you? You need
Well,
metrics.
the higher the check, the more data you need. That's generally the way it works. So we like to see that, as I said, when we're deploying millions, we like to see that you can get a sense of certain KPIs. Yeah.
The bigger you get, John, obviously the pressure actually comes on the team, because up until that point, you'd maybe a couple of people labouring in the trenches, and all of a sudden, to use that oft misquoted phrase, and forgive me, in the current environment that we are, all of a sudden you're playing senior hurling, and that puts pressure on what previously was a very strong small team to become a bigger team and to let go a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that the main thing to help scale the team, and team is absolutely vital, as everybody has said, is culture. So as you grow the organization, are you establishing a culture that is scalable? And what is that culture? Because there will be an organizational culture. It's just the question, are you defining what you want that to be? And is it going to be effective to deliver what you're trying to do as a team? So establishing what you want that culture to be, and then taking material steps to make that a reality.
You make that sound easy. It's not easy, is it?
No, I think team growing and building that culture and ensuring that the people that you're bringing into that team are a fit, which is the first thing that we look for when we're bringing anybody in, is absolutely critical. Right, we're slightly further along the journey now, but it's still the number one thing that we're considering when we're expanding the team is, will these people be, or will this person be a good fit for the team?
That is, I'd imagine, Debbie, where a lot of mistakes are made as well.
Yeah.
That sometimes the right people aren't put into the right
Yeah,
roles.
hiring, I think it's the hardest thing for companies to get right, but they need to spend the time and the energy and the focus on getting it right. It's because the opportunity cost of mishiring is so high, because it takes time to figure out that you've made the wrong decision, and then you've got to change them. So it's the hardest thing, and I would say you can never do enough blind referencing on somebody, in terms of trying to check out their past, their history, how good they are. And again, just agreeing with John, how they fit. You could have somebody who fits very well in a certain type of organization. Maybe it's a big organization, but they won't fit well or adapt well into a smaller organization. They don't have the resources, the same tools. So you really need to spend time and energy and focus on hiring the right people, because the opportunity cost is huge if you get it wrong. But again, if you get it wrong, make the decision quickly to change.
Move on fast.
Move on fast.
Yeah.
You've got to do that. You've got a little bit of time, but if it's feeling wrong and it's looking wrong, you actually need to move quickly.
Debbie, I suppose, sorry, Aisling, I would go to ask you this question. The role of the CEO, those senior people, I mean, it does change quite a lot when you move to this round of scaling.
Yeah.
How responsive do those senior people have to be to that change? I mean, if we roll it back to what we were talking about a minute ago, you create an idea, it's your baby, you're right, the customer might be wrong. There's no room for those mistakes at this level, is there?
Yeah, no, it is. It's a big shift to move from being the doer to being the leader. And I didn't think, I came from the world of HR, so I had spent my career building teams, building leadership teams, and I thought, this is no problem. I'll be able to do this. But I made all the classic mistakes of bringing people in who were very effective, very talented, but just couldn't make it in a startup, because you have no budget, you have no resource, you have no time to do all the things you need to do. So
There's an energy in a startup that is different to a bigger established company.
Really different. And there's a resilience needed, that you have to be the kind of person who can get up every day, get knocked down and still walk into the office with a smile on your face the next day. And that's not everybody. There's a lot of people who come out of corporates and just can't make it in startups, and very understandably too.
The hashtag, of course, is global ambition, which is what we have in spades in this country, thankfully, Debbie. And we'll come and ask the two lads their experience here in a minute. Selling to a different country is darned hard. I remember doing an event for EI about selling into Germany. I had no idea the challenges that people who sell into Germany actually face, but they're manifold, and that's just one country. Getting those international sales is hard, but you guys in the VC will want to see that they have the potential and the ability to do that.
Yeah, because the Irish market is irrelevant. It's too small in most businesses, not all, but it's generally too small. But it can be a good test market to see, to get some early customers. But it's really important that you can show international sales, because when you're in a small market, it's very easy to have contacts. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody to be able to get the attention of the key decision maker. Once you're going international, you probably don't have that luxury.
Person,
yeah, so you've got to be able to prove that basically your product, between marketing and product market fit, that your product actually is able to actually sell internationally. Very, very important. And it's not easy. And different markets, you may need to do some testing. And this again comes back to premature scaling. Just because it's working in one market, if you're moving into a different market, you always need to assess the dynamics of each market and test it before you start throwing loads of money at it.
John, we heard in the last panel, don't rush to the sales guys. Make sure that you've identified what you can and should do. At this point, you are reaching for the sales guys, but they have to be the right sales guys, don't they?
Yeah, and again, we're still making mistakes in this area. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not a formula that you can take off a shelf, and every organization, I think, is different in how they sell and how how they're successful in selling internationally and accessing the market. I think I completely agree. If it's not working, change what you're doing. And you can follow. There's well-worn paths and formulas that work to create markets and to access the market, but finding one that works for you and then trying to scale that and then identify what's working for that and what can you replicate and transfer to other markets. It's a constant challenge.
And that's where the advice comes in. That's where the likes of Enterprise Ireland have vast experience. They have offices out there. Debbie, no doubt you guys would have input there as well. Listening is hugely important at this part of the journey, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's a well-worn path. We've invested in over 100 companies. We have a huge network as a result. We've lots of CEOs who've been down that path before. So there's lots of people to talk to in terms of trying to don't make the same mistakes. But the reality of it is everybody is going to make mistakes. You just have to try and, as I said, hire well. Marketing, again, you can't expect, there's no point in hiring salespeople if you haven't got the marketing tools for them to actually get leads. And this comes back again to making sure you're not scaling prematurely. Salespeople need to have the tools to be able to sell. They need to have the leads. So there's always kind of steps in a road, steps that have to happen before you actually really start throwing money at something.
Let's go back to our question that we asked on the poll, because there are some interesting results after coming through. So what do you think are the greatest challenge to scaling? What do you think the greatest challenge to scaling a business is? Choosing the wrong people to work with is out on top there. Not paying sufficient attention to cash flow and financial management, that's in second. Focusing on sales and marketing instead of building long-term demand, and not changing management structures as growth occurs are the two lowest. Choosing the wrong people to work with at the very top of that list, Aisling. Does that surprise you? Again, from a HR perspective, alone that makes sense, but would you agree with the audience?
100%. Yeah. I think it's really easy to get it wrong. You'd love to think it's easy to get it right, but actually it's the opposite. You're more likely to get it wrong, I think, in the early stages, because you think that you go look for talent who are great at things that you're not great at. So you go look for expertise in sales or in finance, because maybe you didn't come from there. But actually, and you have to give them enough time to give them a chance, because nobody's going to work out the next day. Nobody's going to kind of start adding value from day one. So you need that kind of period of time to go, are they working out? But you got to follow those niggles. When you think they're not, you've got to act quickly. And I think that's the answer. You're going to hire the wrong people. It's about acting quickly when you realise you have.
I have to say, the classic Irish staying awake at night is also represented in that poll by people saying not paying sufficient attention to cash flow and financial management. That's the kind of thing that will keep a founder awake many times, no matter where they are in the world. Is it a justified concern? And advisors. How do you overcome that?
How do you overcome it? I mean, you just need to make sure that they've got the right financial control and support in there to keep an eye on it. I mean, I think that's, to be honest, I think that's an easy problem to solve. I mean, that's fairly straightforward in terms of keeping an eye, running cash flows, forecast cash flows, and having the support, either somebody in-house or external. I think the biggest issue by far is making sure you hire the right people, because that's where you can lose a lot of money and lose an awful lot of time.
I'll go through some questions very quickly, if I can, from the floor. One, and I'll give this one to you, John. What was the best support you received that helped you scale internationally?
Well,
and bear in mind, she's sitting next to you.
The
Careful now, John.
the investment support that there's no doubt about it. Maintaining liquidity as the CEO is the number one role, and I agree it should be fairly simple. And if you're hitting your milestones, you should be able to raise more capital. But investment, once we established that we had a model that worked, we wouldn't have been able to do it and to scale without the financial support of Enterprise Ireland and our other investors, including ACT.
One question after coming in just in the last few seconds there. What advice would you have on hiring your first key hire? You've two hats on, so answer that one.
In hiring the first key hire, I think you've got to find somebody who's going to fit with you but brings enough diversity that their skill set is going to add to you. Don't go hiring yourself again. Go hire somebody who can really complement your skill set, i.e. do all the things that you're really crap at.
Don't hire yourself effectively.
Don't hire yourself, but hire someone you can get along with,
and
who you can do late nights with and weekends with and eat crap pizza with, the airport test like Conor was talking about.
Is there such a thing as the wrong kind of customer to work with when scaling an early stage startup, John?
Absolutely. I mean, the wrong customer can kill the business. So I think defining what a right customer is, and ideally, I mean, the customers that we chose to work with and were able to work with early, we won great deals with Philips, with Mondelez and with Bosch. And they are still customers, and they still work in the same way with us, which is consultative. They're supportive of us, but they know that if they make unreasonable demands, that they could overwhelm us as a much smaller company than them. So it's about being very honest and open. Like if we fail, we call it out. So there's all sorts of relationship dynamics that exist with a customer, and I think trying to identify what is most important and then finding a fit in the same way as you would look for the right fit with employees as you scale the team, finding those early customers that are going to be your champions, that are going to give you valuable feedback on your product, that are going to really help you as an organization, and so that you all succeed together, is really important.
This is an interesting one. Should a startup take on a new hire in a fixed-term contract at the beginning rather than a permanent position to see if they fit the culture? That's hardly a vote of confidence in that staff member, is it? If you're only going to we'll give you 3 months to see how you get on. They're not going to exactly enjoy the pizza.
Well, probation is probably your best recruitment tool. So whether you give them a fixed-term contract or a permanent contract, you still have that 6 months to make up your mind. So in some ways you want to give people the sense that you believe in them, that you're bringing them on board and they're part of the team. So if a fixed term contract says that to them, that's okay, but that wouldn't be for everybody. But I think you just got to use that probationary period really wisely.
Debbie, of course, the plan for a lot of people will be to maybe get to the point at which they move on and they start another one. And that feeds into our next guest very well, where one project is not for life, it is the project for now. We often hear the phrase, good companies get bought, not sold. How do you make sure you're the one that's bought and not the one that's sold?
I think if you just have to keep focusing on building a good company, focusing on hiring a good team, showing growth. Growth solves lots and lots of problems. It really is the solution to everything. If you can show good growth, good market opportunity. Remember that when we're investing, or when a buyer is buying a company, they're actually looking for very similar ingredients. You're looking to see sustainable, repeatable growth, because that's how you're going to get a good valuation when we're investing, and that's also the same way that you're going to get a good valuation when you're exiting.
Can I ask you each just one final question? The formula. We were talking about the formula earlier on, and obviously the formula is different for every unique company that's here, 127 different formulas, hopefully all getting similar results. What was the formula for you, John? What did you get right?
I suppose the kind of constant from the beginning was hard work and resilience, and I think both of those things have been talked about today already, but you can't underestimate them. I mean, resilience, for example, when we were raising our Series A, we didn't use corporate finance. We went out, and I went out basically and hustled and basically went out and met as many people as I could. And I remember I was staying in my brother's apartment in New York, and I had done a load of trips to the UK the week before. I had just got a train up to Boston that day and back down, and I got a call to say that they had passed this company that I'd met in Boston that evening. And I'd spent 800 quid on that train. I remember that just really killed me. But this journey was a complete waste of time. And within 20 minutes, I'd had another 2 calls from 2 other companies that I'd met in the UK, both passing as well. So within an hour, 3 days of planning, thousands of euro, and just the rejection that you get from this being shot down. And I was pretty dejected that evening. But a month later, 5 weeks later, we were 5 times oversubscribed for that round. So that was a killer. That was a low point in that fundraising process. But if I'd given up, or if I'd said it's not worth it, or we'll pause it for 6 months and see where we go, we wouldn't have gotten anywhere, and we certainly wouldn't have be where we are now. So I think that resilience, that ability to get back on the horse, to keep on pushing, and not never give up is certainly what I would credit with getting us as far as we have so far.
Aisling, what's the formula for you?
Yeah, probably similar enough.
Did you ever spend 800 euros on a train from Boston to New York?
I spent probably a lot more than that on my travel bills, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's as well being really believing in yourself and your company enough to demand enough of what you need. So I think sometimes we're programmed to go in and ask for 250K or whatever. We did a big seed round, we did a 2 million round because we felt we needed that to make the business, because we were going after some of the biggest companies in the world. And you kind of need that balls to go up and go, I need 2 million, and if I didn't raise 2 million, honestly, we'd have been out of business by today. I needed every penny of it to really make it work. But as well, to kind of have that attitude that I have a business that is doing business with the biggest companies in the world, and why shouldn't they do business with a startup? So kind of just being, even in the days of your own self-doubt, still projecting that belief in yourself and your business, I think is super important.
Debbie, for you, you're like the master taster in the Willy Wonka chocolate factory in terms of formula, because you get to taste them all when they come in. What for you are the essential elements that have to be there?
I think where we find success is when you've a founder or a founding team who are resilient, lots of energy. They stay close and focused on big markets, but they stay close to the market dynamics. They're always watching what's happening in the market, and they're able to inspire and hire good teams. That's what you need. That's what you need. If you can address all of those well, you will raise money and you will hire the right people. You can't do it on your own. So it's about being self-aware, knowing your own strengths and weaknesses to know what you're not good at. So you hire around you, but you need to be able to inspire really good people. You want to hire the best people. So you've got to show the drive, the resilience, the ambition to get those people to jump on board with you. And again, market, staying close to your market, staying close to your customers, showing a belief and a valuable proposition in a big market. That's what will raise money, and that's what will sell ultimately to a good acquirer.
And those are core elements that you should keep close to no matter what point you are in the journey.
You always need to stay close to your market.
Absolutely. Look, it's been fascinating. Thank you very much, John Beckett, Aisling Teillard, and Debbie Rennick, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, folks. Much appreciated. Thank you.